For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Philippine News Canada is brought to you by Rayford Media Group.
Hello mga kabayan! Narito na ang pinalawak at pinalakas na coverage ng Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver Nationwide, mga pangunahing balitang nakalap ng aming news team para sa linggong ito. Mula dito sa Stanley Park, enjoying the sun, ako po si Rosette Correa at ito ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver. Mga paaralan sa BC, papasok na sa Setyembre. Inilabas ng BC Ministry of Education ang guidelines para sa lahat ng mga eskwelahan mula sa kindergarten to grade 12 para sa pagbukas ng klase sa Setyembre. Ayon sa mga guidelines na ito, iba't ibang model ang gagamitin ng mga paaralan at ang nakasalalay ang pagpaplano nito sa mga school districts. Ang plano ay ang pag-divide ng mga estudyante into cohorts or learning groups. Sa elementarya at middle school, learning groups ay magkakaroon ng maximum of 60 students, habang ang secondary school learning groups naman ay magkakaroon ng 120 students. Ayon kay Education Minister Rob Fleming, maglalabas ang provincial government ng $45.6 million to help ensure safety measures sa mga paaralan.
The lesson of this pandemic is that we must continually adapt to the latest public health advice and science until we have a vaccine. To resource the newly updated health and safety guidelines in place, which are being released today, which Dr. Henry has just described, the province of British Columbia is providing an additional $45.6 million for the school system to enhance cleaning regimes, to hire more cleaning staff, to add more hand washing stations, and to provide reusable face masks to teachers and students that will be stocked for everyone and available on request as a feature of the 2020-21 school year. This also includes $3 million to support remote learning so students can have access to technologies again as they did in the last school year. This will also provide funds that will be made available for kids with disabilities or those with complex learning needs to provide software and other devices to support their learning.
Sinabi niya na ang desisyon ay galing sa abiso ni Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry na nagsabing maaaring i-organize ang mga students into learning groups to reduce the number of people they come in contact with, cutting the risks of transmitting the novel coronavirus. Sinabi rin ni Dr. Henry na mas kaunti ang mag-aaral na papayagan sa younger grades dahil mas mahirap silang mag-practice ng safe physical distancing and proper hand washing.
A key aspect of a full return to school are what we've created, cohorts, or what we're calling learning groups, that will be created for every school across the province. The principle behind these learning groups is to create groups of students and staff who will remain together throughout the school year or term and who primarily interact only with each other. By creating these learning groups, students and staff within each group will be able to safely spend time together, maintaining distance as much as possible throughout the school year. And while they may not be in the same classroom, learning groups will be able to connect with each other during breaks in common areas and places like the playground, the gym, or the library, other important learning environments in the school. It also means that in the event of a case of COVID-19 in the school, the potential for transmission will be limited, and the ability for public health to quickly complete contact tracing will be far easier and far less disruptive. It also To set the learning group size, the team that's been working on this started with 2 times the typical number of students in a classroom. So for elementary and middle school, each learning group will have at most about 60 people. And that seems like a lot. That's not all in the same classroom. But it will be segregating by grades so that there's less mingling in the school environment. For secondary school, it will be up to 120 people. And again, that's a maximum, and that doesn't mean that you will have contact with all of those people every day. It means that that is the bubble, if we will, or the learning group that will be used. Learning groups are smaller in the elementary and middle schools because it's more challenging, as we know, for younger students to maintain that safe physical distance. So we want to reduce the number of people and focus on reducing physical contact between students. Older students are also much better able to practice hand hygiene and recognize if they're experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. And as we know from the data, younger children are much less likely to get infected with COVID-19 or to pass it on to others, whereas older children are much more like young adults, where they often do not get severe infection, but they are able to pass it on to each other, so we need to be more careful in those groups. Looking to September, school is going to look and feel different. The learning groups is one example, but so are additional measures that we will need to take, and learning from what we experienced in June. So additional measures around cleaning, movement within the school, social interactions, and how they can be done safely in the school environment. The foundational rules for safe social interactions will apply in our schools as well. And that includes hand hygiene, washing hands regularly, maintaining a safe physical distance, both inside as much as possible, but in particular with those outside of your learning group, using a mask if you choose, particularly in those areas where the distance cannot be maintained, and we're talking about places like on the school buses or in hallways, and incredibly important for students, staff, and educators, staying home if you're sick. I know for many students and staff, being in the classroom is where they
Ayon din sa kanya, ang mga estudyante ay mananatili in the same learning groups pero magkakaroon naman sila ng opportunities to socialize outside of the classroom sa mga shared spaces gaya ng hallways and cafeterias, calling the plan a balancing act to ensure students have the opportunity for social interactions kung saan magkakreate ito ng environment where the virus could rapidly spread.
Students in a learning group is distinct from students in a class. They will be able to interact and connect with each other as a consistent group during breaks in common areas like the gym or at the library, at playgrounds, or on school buses. Limiting the number of people each student or staff member comes into contact with will reduce the risk of transmission and will ensure better contact tracing by health authorities.
Ang Stanley Park Seawall ang isa sa mga napakagandang features dito sa Vancouver. Samahan ninyo kami ngayong araw na ito sa episode namin upang makita natin ano-ano ba ang makikita natin sa paglalakad ng Stanley Seawall. Mabibisita din dito sa Stanley Park ang mga totem poles na sikat sa mga turista. Ang isa sa napagandang features ng paglalakad sa seawall dito sa Stanley Park ay ang view mula Stanley Park ng North Vancouver. At syempre, ang isa sa mga features ng paglalakad sa seawall dito sa Vancouver ay ang makikita nating Lions Gate Bridge ng North Vancouver. Nakarating na kayo ba dito sa Brockton Point Light Station dito sa Stanley Park? Samahan ninyo kami! Ang Brockton Point ay isa sa mga nag-play ng key role in guiding ship safety dito sa Cole Harbour sa Vancouver. Nakatayo ngayon siya dito sa Stanley Park bilang isang beacon of light ng Vancouver. Hindi po ito ang version ng Vancouver ng Little Mermaid. Ito po ay ang tinatawag na Girl in Wetsuit. Ang Girl in Wetsuit ay isang statue na ibigay sa Vancouver Harbor dahil sa sculptor na si Ellen Unready. Nag-fail ito noong 1970 at she represents Vancouver's dependence on the sea. Years ago, carrying Vancouver's commerce to the Orient. Ang original na carving ay restored by the Vancouver Province noong 1928 at ang replica na ito ay kinast mula sa restored carving noong 1960. Ang Lions Gate Bridge ang nagko-connect ng Vancouver at ng West Vancouver. At bukod sa Canada Keys, meron ding mga seagulls na nagre-relax dito sa batuhan ng Stanley Park. Ito ang tinatawag na Siwash Rock. Ang legend ang nagsasabi na ang rock na ito ay 50 foot high that stands as an imperishable monument to the Scourge, the unselfish, who was turned into stone by the Quas, the transformer, as a reward for his unselfishness. isa sa mga napakalaking features ng water dito sa Stanley Park ang tinatawag na Lost Lagoon. Siyempre, matapos ang napakahabang lakaran, isang masayang tanghalian. Ako po si Rosette Correa mula dito sa Stanley Park, nagbabalita at makilakad na kayo!
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Gusto po niyo bang malaman kung paano namatay si Rizal and be right there during his execution? Or makita niyo ang first Philippine independent government na dineclare ni Emilio Aguinaldo noong 1898? Samahan ninyo kami dito sa 360 virtual reality experience ng Ayala Museum to be right there when it happened. Alam niyo ba na kahit nag-renovate na ang Ayala Museum, kasama pa rin sa exhibits nila ang paborito ng lahat, ang dioramas throughout the history of the Philippines. Samahan ninyo kami ngayon at panoorin natin, tignan natin ang iba't ibang dioramas throughout Philippine history dito sa dioramas ng Ayala Museum.
Did you know that Philippines Shell has sponsored the Shell National Art Students Competition since 1951 for art students? Did you know father of Philippine archaeology, H. Otley Bayer, began collecting trade ceramics in the 1920s?
Mga kabayan, kasama natin si Giselle Ong with the Ayala Museum, and she's going to explain to us about the patterns here in the exhibit. So Giselle, you were explaining to us the patterns, how they derived the figures.
Yeah. So what the museum did to make this a bit different is that we sent this to the Prince School of Traditional Arts in London, and they studied the different patterns and they broke it down. If you can see here, they broke it down to its first step, to its origins, and you can see here that before, most of the influence in our textiles were derived from nature, and their designs are usually based on that order of nature.
So in this particular pattern that we see, they derived the pattern of a flower, and I'm guessing it's an orchid,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
a slipper or something like
So
that.
yeah, it's an orchid, and here are different leaves of ferns, of that.
Oh, so the leaves are included.
Yes.
So this particular pattern here are fern leaves.
Yes. And if you look through the different textiles, some are from animals, some are from alligators, and other flowers.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's awesome. You know, we didn't think of that. We just thought that it's just a random pattern of lines and curves, right?
Yes, usually our textiles, especially from before, have a lot of meaning to them, to the different groups of people, and what their faith is and what their beliefs are.
And all of these are from the Tipoli tribe. Is it?
It's different.
different.
Different tribes actually.
Alam niyo bang si artist Fernando Zobel ang unang nag-pose ng question tungkol sa Philippine art, kung ito ba ay straight Philippine art or it's an influence of European and Oriental art? Ano nga ba?
Did you know in pre-colonial Philippines, the dead were covered in gold masks to prevent any evil spirits from entering the body?
Alam niyo bang si national artist Francisco V. Coching ay isa sa mga artist na mga paborito nating comics noong araw pa? Samahan ninyo kami ngayon at tignan natin ang art ni national artist Francisco V. Coching dito sa Ayala Museum. Hoy, tapos na ba kayo dyan? Kairam naman yan. O, yan. O, mas maganda yan. Mas maganda yung isang yan. O, tignan niyo yung si Satur dyan. Galing. Nagpapasalamat po kami sa aming mga sponsors, ang 99 Cents and Up Store sa Richmond, ang Kabalan Suites Restaurant and Catering sa New Westminster, at ang 88 Supermarket na may 2 branches sa Killarney at sa Victoria Drive. Maraming salamat po. At dito na naman nagtatapos ang balita namin para sa linggong ito. Kung kayo may mga komento, mga issue o balitang nais nyong ibahagi sa aming programa, ang PNC ay bukas para sa inyong lahat. Mag-email lamang po sa balitangvancouver@gmail.com o tumawag sa 604-588-6397. Mula po dito sa napakagandang Stanley Park, ako po si Rosette Correa. At ito, ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.